There's a lot of reps and a lot of people in certain divisions that are like ostriches putting their head down in the ground and not looking out anywhere. The conversation that came from that orthopedic company that we talked to, they said, hey, I just talked to a recruiter. They told me about this other position that the OTE is $200,000. Is that possible? How have you been in the industry for 5 years and you're asking me if that's a possible income? Of course it is. It's a different world. We have AI. Literally in the last 24 months, the recruiting game and how they do interviews has literally changed. Everyone's gonna tell you what is normal. Guess what? If you wanna be normal, turn off this podcast right now because we don't work with people who wanna be normal. We work with people who want to know, is it possible to hit $150,000 in my first job? It is not common to break into medical device sales at over 6 figures. But if you just learned how and got around people who do it every single day, you could do the exact same thing. And just understand, it's not normal, but that doesn't mean that it's not possible. Welcome back to New to Medical Device Sales. I am your host, Jacob McLaughlin, and today, my friends, I was not planning on doing a podcast on this topic, but I just got off a call with somebody who's out of California that's inside of our program who he makes $60,000 a year. He just took a position with Intuitive and has over doubled his income. And the call I just got was somebody yelling at the top of their lungs saying, I don't know if I'm going to be able to breathe throughout the rest of the night because I'm so excited and I didn't know this was possible. That made me want to do a podcast because what I just want you guys to all hear, every single time I get on a call with one of you or our team members get on a call with you, you guys don't know what's possible. But I'm just going to give a quick shout out to Chad. Like Chad now knows what's possible. And the one thing I'll just always say to everyone is you don't know what's possible until you do it. And most people think about all the what ifs and what if it goes bad. But what if it goes right? What if you accomplish everything you ever wanted to? What if you get exactly where you want to be? Or even better, it's better than you thought it could be, right? And the conversation he had was, I didn't even think I could have done 100K. Now I'm well over 100K and now I'm going to make this money and now I could probably live off this and now just have breathing room. I can save money and be able to invest. And then we had the conversation where to invest. But what I'm coming on here today for you all, it's possible. You want to break into medical device sales? He had no sales and no clinical background. He's in medical device sales. If you want to break into medical device sales, it comes down to betting on yourself, being a really good person, being coachable, being driven, actually having a little bit of emotional intelligence so you can read the room, read people, and actually show that you're doing the job to get the job. Everybody always tells me that it's impossible, but I will just sit here and tell you this. I was just on a call with somebody who has been at an ortho company, one of the top 5 orthopedic companies in the world. He's been there for 5 years, and in 5 years, he's never made more than $120,000. Chad just got hired in his first job ever, and it's going to be more than that. And the reason I share that with you all is because then when I post that and I share that and I let you guys just know what's possible, because it doesn't change my life or doesn't hurt me or doesn't make my life better by just letting you guys know about positions that pay you guys more, is then what happens is all those other people who aren't doing it are like, that's impossible. You can't do that. You couldn't actually accomplish that. But just understand, the only people who ever say you can't do something or accomplish something are the people who don't know how to do it, right? The reason I say this is I said this to the team the other day is there's a lot of people who build cars, but they're not Elon Musk. And when Elon Musk came and said you can do certain things, everyone else is like, no, it's impossible, but then they accomplish it, right? And then let me just put one really quick in so everyone can understand. There's a lot of people who play basketball, but that aren't Michael Jordan or aren't Kobe Bryant. And they can't understand how Kobe or Michael or those people actually had all this success because they were never going to get that opportunity. And so I'm encouraging somebody on this podcast right now that's listening to this at whatever time of night or day when you're watching this, it is possible to break in well over 6 figures. We do it each and every single day. And you're going to go talk to 20 different people who are going to tell you 20 different things. And there's many people who are still using a pager, or when they broke in and it was $65,000 a year and they say it's the only way. Because the last thing I'll just say to this is I explain it this way. There's a lot of reps and a lot of people in certain divisions that are like ostriches putting their head down in the ground and not looking out anywhere. I've literally talked to people where the conversation that came from that orthopedic company that we talked to, they said, hey, I just talked to a recruiter. They told me about this other position that the OTE is $200,000. Is that possible? And I was like, how have you been in the industry for 5 years and you're asking me if that's a possible income? Of course it is. But it's because they've been in one division. And so my encouragement for everybody here, whether you're a rep, you're not a rep, you want to be a medical device sales rep, whatever it is, be open, do research, go talk to other people, because I'll tell you what actually happens in the industry. Most people get inside the industry, they think every other rep inside of the hospital is their competitor, which there literally is usually only 2 or 3 that's your competitor. They look at every other rep as competition. They don't talk to them. And what the really good reps do is they all go talk to every single person in the OR room or in the hospital. They learn about different divisions. They learn about different opportunities. They learn about different things you could do and make money in this industry. And I'm just going to share my experience. I'll never forget being at Medtronic. I was working in my division and I was crushing it and I was doing really well. But then I remember going to a little conference where I talked to a guy who was part of a startup. And I told him my OTE, because we were just having a friendly conversation. And my OTE at the time was $135,000. Again, my first job in medical device sales, on target earnings was $135,000. But I hit over quota. We got percentages. So I did way over that. But why I share that is because then I go and talked to this other person who's inside the industry that was selling a test, not a device. They were going to the same exact call point I already had, GYNs, but instead of selling a procedure, selling a product that actually has to go into surgery, they were saying, hey, you're testing for this. Instead of using this, which is the old way, you could use this test, which gets you better results, ABC. Why I'm sharing that is because they started their people, because he was telling me he was hiring because he's a regional. They started them with a $210,000 on target earnings, AKA OTE. Their base was $100K. When I was at Medtronic, my 135 OTE, my base wasn't $100K. So the reason I'm sharing that was by just having a conversation, being in the exact same division, I learned that, oh my gosh, I could not change anything. I could actually just call on the same exact doctors, but instead of me going in to do surgeries, running trays, doing in-services, doing all of the above, I could do the exact same thing, which I actually, when I penciled it out, it was about 1/15 of what I did. AKA they just would go call on offices and then go do lunches at the offices, then do talks with the doctors and the surgeons, and then say, hey, will you use this, right? So the reason I share that with you, and I thought this through, was, so I'm doing 1/15, they're doing 1/15 of my job. I'm getting paid less. I could go do something else. But that would have never been possible. My brain would have never actually thought that way if I didn't go talk to someone else. And so why I'm sharing all of this for you all, it's possible. There are plenty of divisions out there in medical device sales where you can still make over $100,000, $150,000. And I will say this one last time for people to listen to. It is not common to break into medical device sales at over 6 figures. It is not common to make over $150,000, $200,000 within the first year or two. But we consistently do it because we've done it. I've done it. And so I've done it so I can help you all do it. And then we consistently, time and time again, show that it's possible. But what happens is the people who don't want to learn about it don't ever ask me how. They just tell me it's not real, that are in the industry, my favorite. Instead of just being curious, they just say, nope, I don't do that, so it's impossible. That's what keeps them stuck. But if you just learned how and got around people who do it every single day, you could do the exact same thing. And just understand, it's not normal, but that doesn't mean that it's not possible. That's the message of the day. Everyone's going to tell you what is normal. Guess what? If you want to be normal, turn off this podcast right now, because we don't work with people who want to be normal. We work with people who want to know, is it possible to hit $150,000 in my first job? We work with 24-year-olds who go in well over $150K with the largest medical device companies in their first job with no experience. That's who we want to work with. Because let me just give you a little background. It only makes our company look better if we take absolute studs and get them hired at things that aren't common, and then they go into those positions and they perform. Hence why we don't just take anybody with a pulse. We make sure that you guys are actually quality, right? We make sure that you all are actual quality and that you have a drive. And I will say this one more time. As long as you are coachable, you are committed, and you are hardworking, it is so easy to break into medical device sales. The problem is you keep listening to people who don't know what they're talking about and they sound good, but you'll go talk to somebody at some company and you don't know if they've ever actually hit top 10 in the industry. You don't even know if they've actually made quota. Number two, you don't know if they've actually helped someone in your exact same background. My favorite is having people who have zero sales experience go talk to people who had sales experience break into medical device sales. It does not help you. It does not help you. Why? Because they're going to be like, well, I worked at ADP for 3 years and then I put my resume in and then I got a job. You don't have ADP. It doesn't make sense to go do the 2 or 3 years because then you still have to go through it because we still get the people from ADP because also, unless you have the exact same hiring manager, unless it was 10 years ago when they broke in and all the above, it's a different world. We have AI. Literally in the last 24 months, the recruiting game and how they do interviews has literally changed. So I want you guys to think about that. Is the people who don't get where they want to be is the people who don't want to know about change. They don't want to know what's possible. They want to go, they want to get a job, they stay in their own lane, they do it for the same thing over and over again, and then they stay in their own environment or their own circle, and then that's where they just stay. I will just tell you why we've been able to have so much success because I talk to people at every single company. I talk to CEOs. I've gone to medtech startups. We partner with AI companies. I've gone through every step. We've talked to distributors. We've talked to startups. We've talked to mid-tier companies. We've talked to top-tier companies and doing top 5 medical device companies. I've been in rooms with top executives. I've also interviewed top executives that you guys can go see. And I've also talked to people who just broke in the industry. So I'm able to understand from how do I break into being an associate, to being a full line rep, to being a district manager, to being a regional manager, to being a vice president of sales, to being a CEO. We've had the opportunity to talk to people in all different backgrounds in all different companies. That's why I can talk about all this because I'm not just saying what I think sounds good. I'm literally going to the exact source and I've lived it, but then I'm also going to the exact source of the VP of sales, of somebody who's been a district manager. Just this morning, I had coffee with someone who's been a district manager and been at one of the top med device companies for 10 years. They were one of the first people I talked to when I got in the industry. We can share that with you all. And then even when I'm at coffee with them, I'm like, hey, did you know about this company? Did you see this in the space? And they're like, no. And I'm able to do that because we're talking to all these different people every single day. So I'm sharing this for everyone out there right now. It is possible to break into medical device sales at over 6 figures. It is not common. It is possible to continue to make $200,000-$300,000 in medical device sales. It is not common. But the one thing I will sit here and tell you, what I've tried to make the biggest point here is we're not trying to be common. If you want to just barely make ends meet, barely make it by and do what everyone else says, go do that. It's super easy, super simple. But if you want to change your life, if you want to see what's possible, if you want to actually prove yourself wrong that you didn't even think it's possible, which was what Chad said, I didn't even know this was possible, then get around people who can help you get there. Get around people who believe in you, who've done it, who already say, hey, I know you haven't done this, but we have, so let us help you through that process. That's what I want to encourage everybody because it is possible. You can change your life. I love that we just helped somebody who's living in California, making $60K, barely making ends meet, has roommates, to now where they over doubled their income, and they're only going to go up because that is the least amount of money they're ever going to make. And now they can go and change their life and just understand why I share all of this, why we do everything we do every single day is because all I want you all to do is change your own life. Know that it's possible. Stop getting around negative Nancys. Stop getting around people who say you can't do this. What you guys need to hear is go invest in yourself. I'm not saying that it has to be with me, but I'm just saying go and invest in yourself. You all will go buy watches, you all go buy bottles, you go buy all this stuff that actually just never gives you a return. But you could actually go invest in your skill set, your mindset, your actual future, and that's only going to pay you the rest of your life. Literally, I just want you guys to know, just had a conversation with somebody who texted me because someone else is considering the program. And they literally were just asking some questions. And I'm like, that person who joined us literally got a 35x return on investment when they first joined us from their first job. And it's been 3 years. And the text I got was, hey, I was able to move with my company and I now got a massive promotion and I make more money. And it's like, okay, so from that initial investment that they did for over the last 3 years, it's returned them hundreds of X's. And so that's what I want you guys to think about is just in your future. Start thinking about that. Get around people who want to believe in you. Get around people that can help you get there, and stop just guessing and stop listening to people that are all going to give you different advice because they don't know. Hope you guys have a great week. Keep crushing it. If you guys want to learn more about breaking in medical device sales and how we just help someone like Chad, click the link down below. Otherwise, press like and subscribe, share this with somebody, and just know I just want you to win. Hope you guys have a great week.